Hey there, creeps. This is Jimmy Haight with Hammer News on Super Creep TV, bringing you the news for the days of February 20th through March 5th, 2017. I am back and feeling at least a little bit better. Hopefully you can tell by my voice. I mean, I know it always sounds like I've been gargling with hot coals, but that's part of the old Jimmy Haight charm. And I guess talking in the third person like a goddamn sociopath. So, let us dive right into this week's strange, wonderful, horrifying, and unbelievable news from around the world. Alright, folks, let's talk about Hitler's phone. So, very recently, the famed auction house, Alexander Historical Auctions in Chesapeake, Maryland. Wait, let's digest that for a second before we get going. That Hitler's phone has just been hanging out in Maryland with fucking John Waters and your grandmama. But that's beside the point. Anyway, this phone, the personal traveling phone of old Dolfo himself, which features an engraved swastika and the Nazi leader's name on the back, you know, like a fucking egotist would do, was sold via telephone for $243,000. A little backstory on this thing, besides being Hitler's mobile device of destruction, no doubt being the junction of countless unspeakable acts, the phone was recovered from Dolph's suicide bunker. It was presented as a trophy of war to British officer Ralph Rayner soon after the war ended as a gift from the Russian forces that were temporarily in control of the city. And then, you know, it ended up at your Mima's house, as the story goes. This was possibly the first cellular telephone in existence. Like, no foolies and shit. Wiki it if you do not believe me. And, FYI, but totally unrelated, never believe a goddamn thing I tell you because it's mostly alcohol-fueled lies. Now, I am not trying to boss anyone around here, but I think a couple of words from Indiana Jones himself apply very appropriately to this story. Belongs in a fucking museum. And before you go all Wall Street Journal on my ass, let me paraphrase with another Indiana Jones lines. One of Indiana Jones' lines. Sorry to stumble upon my words. Nazis. I hate those fucks. This story comes to us from the barren plains of bumfuck Utah. So in the land of Utah, home of Mormonism and really not much else, to be honest, live a certain subsect of human being. Now, I am not gonna judge their choices because, hey, I am definitely down with one dude and 7+ women, but, you know, I got standards some don't. Like, my ladies are always legal and consenting. I may be a shit, but I am not a total shit. You got it, folks. I am speaking of polygamists. Also ninjas, strangely enough. So, let's dive right into the story of attempted murder and definite mayhem. Somewhere right now, a real piece of shit, Cain Blackwing, which that cannot be his birth name. Like, he had to go down to the courthouse with his fucking D&D manual in hand and say, hey, Mr. Judge, give me this really badass name. Not one to judge D&D, don't get me wrong, that's whatever you do behind closed doors, right? But anyway, this Cain Blackwing motherfucker is sitting in the clink in Beaver County, Utah for like 600 fucking offenses. Like attempted rape on a minor, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit, etc. Like the list is, I was gonna say infinite, but like a lot. We'll just say a lot. Thing is, Cain is sort of like our good friend Charlie Manson in this scenario because he wasn't really willing to get his hands dirty, at least not on the murder charges. He was totally willing to get his penis dirty on the sexual assault charges, which we do not condone, by the way. Nope. So, what does one do when they are not willing to do the dirty work themselves and your court date's coming up? Well, you send a padre of your underage ninja wives armed with plastic wrap, screwdrivers, stun guns, knives, syringes, matches, and you have them kill your accuser, of course. Here is a direct quote from the fiancé of the victim's mother, so you know that in this instance I am not totally pulling your chain. She came at me with a stun gun, and I instinctively blocked it with my arm, and I hit her in the head, then proceeded to jump on top of her. Then I grabbed my sword on the mantle, unsheathed it, and told her to sit down, that if she moved, she would lose body parts. That is a real fucking tough guy, folks. He just has a sword sitting right there in case of polygamist murder squads. Like, and that's some pretty badass shit to say. Sit down or you'll start losing body parts. Like, dude's seen a couple action movies, you know him. So, well, as they sometimes will, if you're lucky, the police responded to the scene and detained the two women, Raven Blackwing, 22, and Tillin Southwick. Is that a real name? Tillin Southwick, 19, two of Kane Blackwing's sister wives. Oddly, the reports don't say how many he had, but rest assured, Utah has its share of backwards-thinking, repugnant vermin people. Or at least so I've heard, so he probably has a couple dozen at least. Like, no offense intended, of course, to our Utah viewers. You folks are the good ones. Anyway, Kane Blackwing, the mastermind that he is, had sent the ninja sister wives to kill the teen because he actually thought that, you know, this would get him out of the hoosgow. Because that's how the court system works, right? Like, you kill your accuser and the court hearing just fucking disappears. The women reported that they discussed the plot with Kane while he was in jail using code words. Probably cryptic words like murder, knives, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, you know, true mastermind shit. Anyway, this whole debacle landed the two impressionable ninja women convictions of aggravated burglary, aggravated assault, and retaliation against a witness or victim charges. Oddly, one woman got kind of a light sentence and the other got 15 years in prison. So clearly one was a little bit more proactive about the murdering than the other one. Last week, another of the many wives of Blackwell, Teresa something, 25. Jesus, Kane, that's old for you. Anyway, her ass was arrested for concocting the brilliant-ass murdering plan. Yeah. Next up, drug smuggling monks. Now, this next story deals with the holiest of holies. I mean, it's actually difficult for me to even write this story. It's so upsetting to my sensibilities. And no, I am not talking about your mom's privates or your butthole. I'm speaking about meth. Alright, meth and Buddhist monks, the two holiest of holies, I suppose. So, a Buddhist monk has been arrested in Myanmar after authorities found more than 4 million methamphetamine pills in his car and in his monastery. The monk was taking a leisurely Sunday drive, which, aside from smuggling drugs, I also didn't know that monks drove, so this is kind of a learning experience for me. Anywho, as he drove near the border of Bangladesh, he was stopped because some fucking narc tipped off the authorities about the monk's illegal goodies. Hey narc, see you in hell. I mean, you're probably the lowest of the low. That's a monk, dude. He was probably gonna use that money to fund some after-school programs or some shit, you fucking dick. Anyway, he literally had 4.5 million pills in his car and monastery combined. That is a fuck ton. That, like, at $1 a pill or something? Seriously, that's valued at over, like, $4 million. And he had some hand grenades and ammunition, because that's what monks do, right? They don't mess around. Oh my god, you guys, I am learning so much valuable and pertinent information. How could I have gone so long unknowing? So get this. Myanmar is the major producer of methamphetamine and also the world's second biggest producer of opium, for which heroin is derived. See you chumps next week. I'm off to Myanmar for a fortnight. The, beaches are calling. Just kidding. I don't even have enough money for a Greyhound out of this shithole, much less a plane ticket to Myanmar. And I'm not really sure that I'm willing to resort to a blow-and-go system just yet. And I ain't talking about the DUIs, if you know what I mean. I guess I'll just toss a hose into this rut and splash around a while. By the by, I am tossing out all that shit where I tell you about Twitter or Facebook or whatever other links you don't give a flying fuck about. Mostly because I know you don't give a flying fuck. And if you did, you folks would know where to find us. So, some junk I do gotta talk about though. If you have any news tips for us, send them on over to supercreeptv@gmail.com with the subject line of newsroom. And also, we want to very much thank our Patreon supporters, Tez and Mary Poppins. Thank you so much for keeping this thing going. This has been Jimmy Haight. Be sure to tip your waitress, and we will see you next Monday.
I've got the old soul, feeling caught my sweetest soul.